Alright, so in the last video I showed you how to run the yProxy setup wizard to automatically configure your newsreader in yProxy. So I'm going to remind you again, now that your newsreader is connected to yProxy, instead of directly to your news server, that yProxy must always be running and started before you try to connect to your news server with your newsreader. So I'm going to show you how to run yProxy for the first time here. Again, in my previous video, I installed yProxy and the shortcut is on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and run yProxy for the first time using the shortcut on the desktop. And since this is the first time running yProxy, it asked me for my registration information. Of course, I do have a registration key. I'm going to enter that here. You do not enter the hyphens. The hyphens are just to make it easier for you to read. The only letters are A, B, C, D, E, and F. So if you think you're seeing O's, those are zeros. If you think you're seeing L's, those are actually ones. So go ahead and finish entering my registration key and then click OK. Now yProxy doesn't give you any indication at all whether it accepted the key or not. But when you run yProxy again, the fact that it hasn't prompted me for my registration information means that it was accepted. Now if you run yProxy again and it keeps asking you for registration information, double check how you're entering it. It is case sensitive and must be entered exactly as it was given to you. So now I have yProxy running, which is the first part of what I need to do. You can see, I see the dialog means yProxy is running, but the other half is it actually has to be started in order for my newsreader to be able to connect to it. Now, since I'm using it for the first time and I've just run the setup wizard, I want to go ahead and test my configuration before I start yProxy. You can see that it's taken the news server information from my newsreader and the port and the fact that I'm using a secure connection using SSL. So I'm going to go ahead and just click the test button to test my connection to my news server. If you have a firewall installed on your computer, as soon as you click that test button, your firewall will probably pop up a notice saying that yProxy is trying to connect to the internet, and that's when you should go ahead and say yes and give yProxy full access, because it not only needs to connect to the internet, but it also needs to run as a server on your computer. So in firewall terms, that usually means that yProxy needs full access. So I'm going to go ahead and click the test button to test my connection to my news server. And after a couple seconds, you can see that yProxy did successfully connect to my news server, and then it shows the actual response from the news server. Any 200 message means that the news server is okay with me connecting to it. If I got anything other than the 200 message, like a 400 message, then it's usually going to be an error message after that. And you'll need to contact your ISP or news service provider to figure out what that error message means. As long as it was able to connect to your news server, then yProxy has done its part. So I'm happy that it succeeded. I'm going to just click OK. And now that I know that yProxy is configured properly, all I have to do really is start it. Now by default, when I minimize yProxy, it'll go right down to my system tray or notification area. Now if I want to bring that back up, I can right click on that icon and click open. That's new with version 1.7. If you have earlier versions of yProxy, just double click that icon and yProxy will come back up. But now that I have yProxy running and started and configured, I can pretty much forget about yProxy. By default, the first time you run yProxy, it's set up to automatically run when you log into Windows. So the next time, if you shut down your computer after you log in, the yProxy will automatically start up again, and you don't have to worry about if yProxy is running or not. But it won't automatically start unless you go into the auto settings and turn on auto start. So I'm going to turn that option on. What that means is now when yProxy automatically runs when I log in, it'll also automatically start. So I don't even have to click the start button. In effect, the auto start means it's clicking the start button for me. If I want to go farther and have it auto minimize after it runs, so that after I shut down my computer and log back on, I don't have to minimize it. It'll automatically go down to my system tray or notification area for me. I set that auto minimize. Alright, so now that I'm done, I can pretty much forget about yProxy. I do not have to ever look at it again. I can minimize it to my system tray and forget about it. It's configured, and it's always going to run and start when I turn on my computer, so I'm good to go. So here's what it looks like now in my newsreader program, Windows Live Mail. And in the previous video, I showed you what the message looked like when your newsreader does not natively support Yank. And here it is. It's just gobbledygook. It's of no use to me. And the reason that the message shows up like that instead of being displayed, as an image inside the preview window is because Windows Live Mail has this message stored on the hard drive. And in order for this message to be decoded, it has to be downloaded through yProxy. I'll show you in a minute how to re-download this message so that it is decoded. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next message so that you can see what it looks like when it's downloaded through yProxy. See, instantaneously, the image just shows up, even though the message is Yank encoded, and Windows Live Mail does not natively support Yank because it's going through yProxy, and yProxy decodes that message for me. It doesn't matter. I can just use my newsreader normally, even though it doesn't support Yank. So now I'm going to show you how to re-download this message. I have to delete what's stored on the hard drive. Unfortunately, I can't delete just this message. I have to delete all the messages for the newsgroup. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by right-clicking on the newsgroup here, picking Properties, going to Local File, Remove Messages. What that does is it removes only the message bodies. If I click Delete or Reset, it would also delete the headers. I don't want to do that. I don't want to re-download the subjects lines, the headers. I just want to re-download the message body. So now that I've deleted the message body, I'll click OK. I'll click off that newsgroup and come back. And now Windows Live Mail re-downloads that message, but this time through yProxy, so the message is decoded. In the next video, I'm going to show you a little bit more about the user interface for yProxy, and I'm going to show you how you can watch yProxy in action as it downloads and decodes Yank messages for your newsreader.